Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the sCOPe review for Asia Pacific and Europe, and I would like to start by asking everyone to please introduce yourselves. So if you would, we'll start with Samsul and we'll just work our way around.
Hello everyone, I am Samsul from Move of Malaysia.
Martin?
Hi, I'm Martin Cullett. I'm International Fellow at the Taxpayers Protection Alliance's Consumer Centre.
Asa?
Asa Salikup from In Cigarette Smoke, Thailand.
Peter?
I'm Peter from Vapors PH, Philippines.
And last but not least, Ignacio. Unmute.
I'm Ignacio Leiva. I'm from Asovape Chile, also part of ARDT Iberoamerica, and the campaign Vaping It's Not Smoking Iberoamerica.
And I have one more person to add, our moderator. And Terry Barnes, our moderator. Terry, can you introduce yourself, please?
Am I moderating? I didn't realize that.
You and I are both moderating, yes.
Oh, right. Well, most of you know me, I think, in one way or another. Terry Barnes, been around for yonks. You participated in sCOPe last week. What can I say? I'm here.
We're glad you're here. I'd like to start off, if we can. Obviously, we're reviewing sCOPe, but we're also reviewing the COP9. And I would like to take the time to ask Martin, if he would, to give us kind of a brief on what his view of what we found out, what we know, what we don't know about what transpired at COP. Martin, would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, sure. Lindsay and I, the TPA, were doing live streams throughout the week. So we were discussing a lot of this. It's quite incredible, really, how little they actually did discuss in a full week. But there was, as most people know, a lot of the decisions were deferred to COP10. But what they did decide, the one they seemed most excited about, was this investment fund. They're setting up an investment fund backed by the World Bank to the tune of $50 million. They're hoping to attract investors so they can raise money to do more of the stuff that they want to do, which is generally, as we know, supply and demand restrictions on tobacco. It's not clear who's going to be paying into this fund. The only criteria they say is that it's got to be within the terms of Article 5.3, so it won't be taking money from industry, but that means they can take money from just about anyone else. Whether this is just cutting out the middleman with Michael Bloomberg, who knows? But it also opens up the possibility of stakeholders being from outside the nicotine and tobacco policy area being able to pay. And I mean, you could get an oil industry investing in this and sort of becoming a stakeholder, while relevant industries and consumers are completely locked out of the debate, which I thought was quite interesting. They also spoke about building back after COVID-19, and of course with tobacco controllers, this entails lots of tobacco taxes, which they say will provide revenue for post-pandemic recovery. So what they're trying to say to governments is that don't forget us, because stopping people smoking is very important as we build back after COVID-19. So we should be front and center, and you should be applying lots of lovely taxes and giving us lots of money. They also talk, as they always do, about tightening up on industry interference, going on at length about how industry is interfering with their plans, which mostly seems to be towards novel and emerging products, with particular reference to heated tobacco. Let me just get the relevant part on that. They agreed on the need to regulate novel and emerging products, in particular heated tobacco products, which were being misleadingly marketed as less harmful and as aids for smoking cessation. So that's the sort of thing they're talking about. Industry interference, basically, is that they don't like the fact that industry is promoting reduced risk products. There was a lot of debate in the first day on the agenda. They just had trouble adopting the agenda to start off with. And much of this, from what I can see, centered around Articles 9 and 10 of the FCTC treaty, which deals with regulations of contents and disclosure for tobacco products. Now, it's been quite evident for quite a while that the FCTC wants to include e-cigarettes and heated tobacco products in Articles 9 and 10, so they can treat everything as a tobacco product. And one of the sticking points of getting this passed on the first day was that a draft decision was drawn up, which included the words "under the guidance of the Bureau" for an expert group on Articles 9 and 10. This would basically mean that discretion for what is included in those reports would pass to the FCTC Secretariat rather than the parties themselves. And some of the parties objected, saying this is not what we spoke about when we said about deferring discussion and decisions. This is a decision in itself that you're deciding that you will say what's in these reports for COP10. So there was a lot of objection to this, and it wasn't until the second day they adopted the agenda when there was some sort of compromise put forward amongst the regional groups. But the wording is still in there. It says under the guidance of the Bureau, but they've added, let me find this term. They've added in brackets after it, and in consultation with state parties as appropriate. So I think that was the compromise, which means that the states are saying, look, we still want to say in this, we're not just going to let you have carte blanche on it. What will happen up now between COP9 and COP10, I expect, is that the regional groups will apply to be on this expert group, and we just got hope really that the states that are favourable towards reduced risk products will get someone on those panels to make sure that this doesn't happen, and they don't include everything in the definition of tobacco products, which they were talking about during COP as well, is changing that definition of what a tobacco product is. So that's something we need to watch out for COP10. As far as observers go, they once again refused to allow consumer groups in. INCO and the NNA in the UK applied for observer status. That was rejected. They did, however, allow in Vital Strategies and the Tobacco Control Group at Bath University, both heavily Bloomberg funded, obviously. So it seems that if you're a consumer, you're not allowed in, you can't talk to them. But if you're funded by Bloomberg and you're heavily biased against vaping products and heated tobacco and all the other reduced risk products, then you just get waved straight through. Quite astonishing, really. The star of the week is the Philippines. They achieved 3 Dirty Ashtray Awards, the hat trick, which are awards handed out by their sort of theoretical awards. They don't actually give them an award in physically, but the Dirty Ashtray Award is where the Framework Convention Alliance, which is a collection of 300 NGOs set up to sort of back whatever the FCTC wants to do, were just basically bullying parties to the convention, national governments, for having the temerity to, in Philippines' case, stand up and say, we're not going to ban e-cigarettes. Why would we want to do that? So the Philippines were the dirty word for the Framework Convention Alliance. They didn't really like any of the things they were coming out with. They were just standing up for harm reduction at the conference, insofar as they were making sure that some of the excesses of the FCTC wouldn't go through. So they were our stars, really. And the last thing they decided was to have COP10 in Panama in 2 years' time. So that was announced as the new venue. I don't know if there were any other applications, but that was the one that was presented to the conference, and that's the one that they just went through without objection. So that's basically what went on. Like I said, not a great deal, but it's all really just moved on to COP10 in 2023, and that's when the debates are really going to start. So we've got a lot to work towards in 2 years.
In terms of that,
Go ahead, Terry.
yeah, I was just saying I'm supposed to be co-moderating. I thought I'd ask a question.
Yeah, go for it.
And nice to see you again, Martin, by the way.
Yeah, nice to see you.
In terms of this private investment or this investment fund, however it's contributed to, Have we seen any statements by Bloomberg or the Bloomberg Foundation since COP9?
I've not seen anything. No, it's very unclear. It's kind of, it says it's backed by the World Bank, and it talks about interest. So I think it's an investment fund, so someone can invest, maybe like a bond or something. Which some I mean, my cricket club, Surrey County Cricket Club, they built a stand a few years ago by issuing a bond, a high interest bond for people to invest in it. So I don't know exactly how these things work. I'm not a financial expert, but that's the idea. I think it's kind of a financial package that they're offering to investors. So it looks like anyone can invest in it. I'm not sure what their reporting requirements are, whether there's any transparency, and would they declare who's invested in this. But it does seem to me to be a way of just allowing Bloomberg to just hand some money through the front door rather than filtering it through the union and all the other different groups that feed into the WHO.
Well, that was certainly my take on it, looking at such detail as we've got. So maybe that's a good thing in some ways. At least we know, by going through the front door, there's no sense of skullduggery. I mean, we just know it's outright thuggery in the first place. So, but the other thing in terms of the Philippines that concerned me was the way that they were bullied into line on that delegation declaration being overturned by the people back in Manila. Do we know anything about how that change was managed in terms of what was said from Geneva?
Is that for me, Terry?
Yes. Peter, I think if you've got something, that would be good to know.
That's the thing, Terry. I really have no idea how that came about. The inside dealings, conversations. I am not privy to those, but as you say, as they say, when there's smoke, there's fire. So the quick turnaround is, I think it caught the department off guard, if you ask me. So that's just the way I look at it. That's why the turnaround, to have it to say that is not our position, something like that. It's there's just a little trouble brewing, I would say.
Well, the reality of those types of delegations, those types of statements, is that they're cleared all the way up the line before they're taken off to the conference. So it's a real backflip in terms of the Philippine Department of Health if they've basically walked away from their own position.
Well, can I just say something on this? Because we spoke about this in a live stream that we did at the TPA. Just my reading of it is that the delegation is appointed by the government for COP9. So the head of the delegation was indeed the Foreign Affairs Minister. I can't pronounce his name. I'm sure Peter could pronounce it for us. But so that was backed by the government. The Department of Health saying this isn't our stance really is pretty irrelevant, because that's the government is appointing that delegation. So the government is quite happy for that delegation to go ahead to COP9 and make those noises. If the Department of Health disagrees, then that's fine, they can disagree. But that, it seems to me, is how it works. The government is behind it. And I think there was, Peter would know better, I read reports that the deputy speaker of the House backed up the delegation afterwards. And that came after the Department of Health have expressed their concerns.
Is that right, Peter?
Just to give you guys an idea, because now we're talking about how our government is set up. The secretary who made the stand, Secretary Teddy Locsin, he's the secretary of our Department of Foreign Affairs. So in the conferences, he is basically the representative of the country. Just to give you a quick tidbit, if a senator visits a foreign country, actually the head of embassy has a higher rank on the senator at that particular place. So in this particular case, yes, the secretary was there in behalf of the Philippine government. tell you frankly, we did send a couple of letters to him, hoping that he would raise the position taken by the, I would say, hundreds of thousands of vapors here in the Philippines. But of course, you can never tell the man what to say, right? We were just hoping that he would take our side, and apparently he did. And on record, I think you can't question what he says because he represents the government per se. In treaties, it will always be the head of foreign affairs will always be there because that's his primary task, international relations. And the deputy secretary of Congress, they're two different bodies. Of course, one is always entitled to say his own opinion, but to a certain extent, what the secretary said on the record should be construed as what our government stands for.
Just Peter, did it get much media attention in the Philippines at all?
Right now, not much yet, Terry.
I have a question here, and this is, I'm listening to all of this, and I see Ignacio's just shaking his head like, because of the investment thing. And I think we might want to explore that just quickly. Terry, I see your point about it being more transparent. But in light of the way the FCTC was handling, just trying to railroad stuff through, and basically, like what Martin was saying, at discretion of the parties. I mean, the FCTC is supposed to be about the parties. It's not supposed to be FCA or the Bureau telling the countries what to do. They're supposed to be in an advisory and a guidance kind of a standpoint. Okay, it sounds to me like they've gotten even more bullshit. Okay, and they're going to tell people what to do. For example, and they'll go to any length. For example, we came up with this idea of awards. Okay, I'm gonna do the first award here, the Good Cop, Bad Cop Awards. Okay, now, as far as the Philippines are concerned, we came up with what we call the Give the Man a Cigar Award, which goes to the Philippine Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. for standing up to the COP9 delegates and telling them to follow the science on far less harmful novel tobacco products if they want to solve the world's smoking problem. Do we all agree with this? Okay. And, then there's the bad one. I'm going to give you a bad one. With every good one, I'm going to give you a bad one because we're balanced, unlike other people. Okay. Here we go. This one's good. You guys will appreciate this one. Then there is, on the bad cop side, the Where the Hell is Wally Award, which goes to whose sponsor, anti-vape crusader and American billionaire Michael Bloomberg, for trading in COP9's low-profile, mostly closed-door online meeting for jumping on a jet and flying to Glasgow for the glitzy, high-profile COP26 as the UN Special Envoy for Climate Ambition and Solutions, no less. Again, very important. This entire thing, is a farce. Okay, and the bullying. I think that we should give a dishonorable mention to the FCA for their Dirty Ashtray Award because I saw that and I responded obviously as CAFRA. What is this bullying stuff? We're giving the Orchid, which is the good award, to Iran. Let's think about this for a minute, okay? So let's look at what we're up against here, okay? And I want to actually hand this over to Ignacio because I want Ignacio, you can do this in Spanish and English, okay? I want your outlook on all of this so far.
Actually, I want to go back to the talk about the new ways of investment for the COP, and I'm really worried about, and I think all of us should be. For me, it have two bad stuff. The first one, I'm pretty sure that there will be no transparency. We know how they work, so we can't expect transparency coming from there. But the most important stuff that I think it's a way to take off the pressure from Bloomberg. Bloomberg had 3 scandals in the second part of last year. One was in Mexico, where he was not able to run from it. The Deputy Midel was even in a summary, seeing what was going on with this huge mistake on the metadata of the project of law against vaping, signed by one of the Bloomberg's slaves, the Argentinian one. We have the scandal on Philippines, and we have the scandal in India. For me, in the first place, it's a way to keep the pressure out from Bloomberg, because I really think we were able to, we as activists of the world, we were able to show that what we were saying for many, many years was totally true, and it started to make noises in different parts of the world. And we knew that it will come through in other parts like Argentina, Uruguay, where we know that Bloomberg have put a lot of money. So in the first place, I think it's a way to protect Bloomberg, to get the pressure out, and a way to hide all the money that he is placing, not only in COPE, also in a lot of institutions. But also open the gates for pharma to directly put money inside the COPE, and also to other civilians like Melinda Gates, that we know that it's also giving money. So it's a very, very bad thing. We should fight now to have full transparency on that money, and should be one of our primary objectives. About Filipina, I must just be happy, and I really welcome the guts that Philippine representative got. But also, I must say that I really I feel the statement of England was really low. I don't know how to put it in English. In Spanish is tibio, not very hot, like cold. And in the other hand, also, we got the very, very cold statement from New Zealand. I was expecting a lot from them. Actually, for me, it was a very big and nice surprise what Philippines did on the statement, but also I was very disappointed in the position of England, and especially in the position of New Zealand, two countries that we expected a lot more, and it was very, very sad to see that they didn't take a clear point. I must just say that I'm super, super happy of the statement of Philippines. I think we should support from every part of the world. And about this dirty ads try price, it's absolutely inappropriate and unacceptable that they are putting this kind of pressure on the members that are not in Bloomberg's lines. It's a pity.
Okay, we have a question, and this is actually real, and I guess I'll ask each of you to answer it in line, okay? What do you feel are the possible consequences of the delay in the review of research papers, coupled with the option for delegates to add new papers, not present them, just file them, because obviously, as they said, they weren't going to actively discuss anything, and then have those papers that they submit recorded in the minutes for the review over the next 2 years? What do you feel the impact of that and consequences of that are? I'm going to start with Asa. Unmute.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to press Control D. Wow, that's gonna bring a lot of troubles, especially for the countries like LMIC's country, like especially in Thailand, because since they said that they're not going to talk or do any review on the research paper, but they have the options of the delegates to add new papers, and those papers we know what it's all about. One of the specialized way that these people do is that they will just pick up a few lines blaming novel cessation products, and especially vape gears, and they will just pick up here and there, pick up a few lines that said, these are the disadvantages of vaping, while not bringing in the whole context and the whole researchers, and it will be there for 2 years. So they will definitely use that and saying, see, it's in the minute, saying how bad it is without reviewing. But they will not say that there's no review. It just in the minutes. So that doesn't look good on our side.
Samsul, what's your take on that?
Right. After listening to everything that has been said, I think I hold slightly a different view from what's going on with COP9. I mean, generally, the idea is like it is looking quite bad. But let's look at it this way. Because their action seems to be so blatant, I'm looking at it as an infringement of human rights. We have rights. There are certain things that we want to achieve for our own health. It seems that these people are not helping, and in their actions of being so blatant about it, it is something that we can really push on forward and expose it to the public. I mean, it just pisses me off to hear about all this. And now coming back to your previous question, Nancy, about the delay, we in Malaysia now, we have just approved the regulation for Malaysia for nicotine liquid products. So that's a huge development, and maybe a delay might not help, might not be much of help for other countries because of their intransparency. But in Malaysia, because we are going to implement regulations on the 1st of January 2021, and I've spoken to the Minister of Health directly, and he has assured me that any delegates that's going to be sent to COP 10 later on is going to still hold on to the decision that has been made that we are going to regulate vape here in Malaysia. So I think in the midst of all this that's happening in our region, this is a good thing, and I hope that this will then further give inspirations to my fellow friends that it still can be done. Another thing that I want to add on here is that for me in Malaysia, all the while I think we have been knocking down the wrong door. We've been trying seemingly to do the right thing, which is post the facts and the science to the Ministry of Health, engage them and try to show to them that this is the right thing to do, because one of their major objectives is to eradicate cardiovascular problem, respiratory problem, which is related to cigarettes, and vape is something that can really help to solve this problem. So this is a problem that they need to solve, and they have never been open to look at vape as an alternative to health. They have been totally prohibitive. But this was before. We've been doing this for 8 years, and we've been knocking down the Ministry of Health door and trying to engage with them. They have never been open, and prohibition has always been their way to go. But when we change our views and our direction, we start to look at it from a different view. Now, maybe COVID-19 pandemic has been not much of a help for my fellow friends, because when we try to solve our problems here in what we are doing, it seems that it is not a priority, because solving the COVID problem seems to be a priority, which now then spill over to becoming an economic problem as well. So we spoke to the Ministry of Finance, and we told them that in Malaysia, it is a 2 billion ringgit industry, which is not regulated, that should be taxed and regulated. So then immediately they seem to see that, okay, this seems, something that would be able to help the country, and in the midst of the COVID pandemic. we know all countries are now struggling economically. So within about 2 months of engaging with the Ministry of Finance, they are beginning to open themselves, and they are now have really decided, and it was announced in the when they table the budget, the country budgets for 2022. It is clearly stated that they are going to regulate vape, not just in terms of the taxation framework, but we have also been briefed on the regulation as a whole in regards to manufacturing, in regards to distribution, in regards to consumer. So I think we are almost there. We are almost there. So with the delay of the discussion that's going on with COP, I think maybe it is not something positive for other countries, but for Malaysia, this delay is fine. You know, let it delay for a while, and we are going to get our things on. You know, before they decide on something else, before they make any decision, which we can assume is not going to be favorable, we are going to set our regulation framework and let it run and implement it by 2021.
Peter, what's your take on this?
First off, I agree with Asa that it sounds and it looks funny, and I also agree with Samsul that it's irritating. It pisses you off. Um, the way I look at it, and I'm a big basketball fan, and nothing against this particular race, but I remember the saying that never trust the Greeks when they come bearing gifts. It's a carrot stick approach the way I look at it. Here, we'll give you a chance to send your position paper, but it's only going to be there. They'll never look at it. It would seem to me that whenever we sort of achieve something from our end, or whenever we take one step forward, they always have an immediate answer. It's all been planned. Oh, if they get some numbers that will allow them a little voice here in COP 9, COP 10, whatever, this is going to be our plan. And this will be media friendly because we will pay everybody else that we are trying to hear them out. But in reality, no. We'll just give you that avenue, but you'll never get here. So what will happen there is that there will be position papers. It's the same thing. It's just a different channel. Like this convention, everybody's supposed to be allowed a seat at the table, right? But look who's there. Only those people that they want to. So what will happen to the papers? Those that they will look into, they will read, they will publish, are only the papers that they want to, right? So that's my take, and I think for the next 2 years, it will just pile up. It will just exhaust us. Of course, we will not stop. We'll still send our papers. We'll send the science. We'll share the success in Malaysia, in all countries that has taken a step forward. But I don't think that it will be published. To answer the question, I think what will be published in the next 2 years, coming from this particular initiative, are only those that are against us. Only those coming from the organizations who they support, the same organizations who were invited and who were present in COP 9. That's the way I look at it, Nancy.
All right, Peter. Terry, from a policy perspective, what's your take? Unmute. Terry, you okay?
Yeah.
Nope. Here we go.
Yep. No, sorry, I knew I forgot to do something. Sorry. Look, I think when it comes to procedural things, those in charge, or who control the procedures, control the outcome, and I think, picking up on the comments, everyone's comments really. I think it is a real, it's a bit of a boondoggle. It's a bit of a blanket pulling exercise over the eyes. And I think Peter's actually right. I mean, those who want to or are in control will be able to cherry pick. They won't have to effectively endorse everything that is submitted or lodged with them. And that's right. Papers that suit them will be endorsed, or bits of papers that suit them will be endorsed and quoted. But anything they don't like will be minuted and filed away, never to be seen again. So at least as far as they're concerned. So my sense is it's a cosmetic, basically a ploy to say, look, I mean, we're open to things, but reality is that minds are closed, policies are closed, decision making is closed. So I don't actually see a substantive change in this at all.
Okay. We have another bad cop award. Martin, I'll let you go.
Say something on this?
Yeah, go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, the delay. It works both ways. Yeah, it's clear we know what they're going to be trying to do with these reports. We know the kind of things that in them. I mean, just in the decision I was talking about earlier, is they're talking about misleading marketing of heated tobacco products, and that they're being told they're an aid for smoking cessation. So they're trying to deny that. So that's basically wiping out anything that happened in Japan and Korea and places like that. They want to ignore that stuff. And we also know that they want to ban open tank systems. They want to redefine what smoke actually is. And they want to talk about regulating on nicotine flux, which basically means regulating everything. So all e-cigarettes are the same. So we know they're going to be pushing for that. But at the same time, Samsung makes a very, very good point, is that in this 2 years, firstly, that deferring it to COP10 works in our favor, because we didn't want them discussing it this time around, because we're not ready for it. We've got 2 years now to prepare to get ready for the next time this comes around. And also, as I think Ricardo Pelosa said in the week running up to COP, there are governments that are going to be having different outlooks on this. And Samsung mentions Malaysia, even Australia. And Australia is an awful country, obviously, but there you have Greg Hunt, who said that there will never be e-cigarettes on my watch. And now, although it's a very flawed system, he does have a system for people to get e-cigarettes in Australia. It's an awful system, but it's actually a move very, very slightly in the right direction. And the Philippines coming out with that statement. Saying the Philippines coming out with that statement saying that they're not going to ban e-cigarettes. You're going to get more and more countries who are seeing the benefits of maybe regulating and taxing rather than just going straight for prohibition. So in 2 years' time, we might have more countries who are thinking along those lines. And we just got to hope that countries like the UK and New Zealand carry on what they're doing. Canada get off the fence and do things good for e-cigarettes. And you might find a different outlook in a couple of years when it comes to the parties having to make decisions on what is presented to them.
Well, one would hope so, Martin. But I think I mean, if you go back, you mentioned Australia. I mean, I think the thing about the Australian system, yes, it does. It goes back to what I was saying. I mean, cosmetically, it looks like, as you were saying, that it's a system of some not very, not optimal, but a system. But really, it's the way it's been structured. It's a de facto ban on vaping products and vaping, because it requires so many steps to do it and so many parties to participate who have the freedom to not participate. It's not really a system at all. So it seems to me that procedurally, I mean, what's happened out of COP is very much another smoke and mirrors exercise. So I think you've just got to be very wary of these things.
Okay, I have another question for the panelists, short answers only. Okay. Is the Framework Convention of Tobacco Control, the FCTC, fit for purpose? Ignacio, we'll start with you. Unmute.
I'm so sorry, my English doesn't let me understand that question.
¿Es la organización FCTC trabajando bien por las personas o no?
Really? Obviously not. Here we see a group of people paid by Bloomberg following his agenda. It's kind of a joke. I'm sorry, but it's a funny but dark question. They are not looking forward for what's the most important thing, that is to give the people the best health possible. Today, the best health possible, when you talk about people that don't want to quit smoking or can't quit smoking, the best solution and the best health you can give them, for sure, it's vaping. And maybe vaping and nicotine pouches. So if you see someone that is supposed to give the best possible health, making a huge fight for the best tool that it ever exists, actually they are not. They are just following an agenda. They are corrupted, in my point of view, using fake science. We have the last WHO report about harm reduction products, where you can see a bunch of lies that are technically lies today, because that scientist studies has been rejected, talking about heart attacks, about spreading COVID, all stuff that it's totally alive today, with a lot of studies that have shown that studies were a lie. We still hear some of the persons there talking about EVALI, still trying to point e-cigarettes as the cause, while everyone knows that there's nothing to do with nicotine, and it was just because of black market. Let's be clear that it's not even on THC, it's on black market, and it's part of not letting the countries have good regulations. And also we have FCTC following Bloomberg, that also make difference between different parts of the world. We have trying to over-regulate it in Europe and in USA, but for us, the monkeys of Latin America and the countries with low income, they just want to ban it, because they think we are not smart enough to take decisions over our health, where it's not only unfair, it's also a racist way to go to see a problem. And actually we are the most affected by tobacco, but it seems that they think that there are different kind of humans, smart humans and stupid humans, and that's quite bad. So no, totally no.
Thank you for that, Ignacio. Gracias. Asa, is FCTC fit for purpose?
One short answer: no, definitely not. That's my short answer.
Thank you. I will go to Samsul. It's your turn.
Right. Can I have not a short answer for this?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
mean, but not
Yeah.
too long. Not too long.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I mean, come on, Nancy. Are they not fit for purpose? Are you kidding me? I mean, if you were to look at the Article 1D under tobacco control, one of the things that they have to look into is tobacco harm reduction. But are they doing that? No. I mean, just look at how they operate. Just look at how they do things. It's clear that they are anti tobacco harm reduction. Is it not? It's very clear. It is clear that they are anti innovation. They are anti industry. So I think they're not doing the job that they're supposed to do. They are not doing the job that they're supposed to do. But the problem is this. All right. I really want to make this clear to everyone that they have been set up to look like an authority institution. So it seems that they're very influential, and whatever they say goes, and they are in the position that we have to look at it in the sense that might is right, no matter what they say, it seems that that's the right thing, or whatever they say is gospel. So this is what we are up against. And if the perception is the problem, I would like to say that for all of us, if the perception eventually will become the reality, and if the perception is the problem, it is the perception that we have to handle and manage, because they've been dishing out all these bad sciences, and because they have been set to look like an authority figure as an institution. So they are very influential using all the instruments that they have. But the short answer is this: they are not. And my question to FCTC is this: a very simple question. I hope that somehow this question reach up to them, and I want to have an answer to this. FCTC, are you sincere in doing your job?
Fair enough. Absolutely. Peter, your answer to, is the FCTC fit for purpose?
No, and I totally agree with what Samsul just said. And he's right. They seem to be the authority. It is like the WHO in general also, but they're really not. I mean, they do not have the, what you call this? They don't have all the answers. So there, just as simple as that. Nothing else. Samsul hit everything on the head. So that's it.
No, I agree completely. I'm going to give another bad cop award right now because it's perfect for right now. This is the "You Shouldn't Really Say That About Yourself" award. And this goes to the head of Convention Secretariat, Dr. Adriana Blanco Marquiso, for bizarrely tweeting, "If you don't like the science that is out there, create some of your own, and then claim we need more research, and then label your opposition as a bunch of closed-minded fanatics." If that isn't the biggest bunch of projection that I have ever seen, yeah. I am going to, Martin, I'm not ignoring you, but I'm going to switch to Terry really quick. Terry, quickly, FCTC. Fit for purpose? Unmute.
Sorry about that. No, it's not fit for purpose. It's anachronistic. It's dated. It's now politicized. It's weaponized. It fails, I think, to appreciate. It's so set in the ways of those who put it together and those who depend on it for influence and power within the field that it's not going to change. But effectively, the way it's the parties and the way that the WHO especially conflates the nicotine and smoking, and therefore plays games with harm reduction and reduced risk products, I think is one, disgraceful, but two, I think it's setting back the cause of what the FCCC is supposed to be all about, which is getting people off deadly tobacco, combustible smoking, and onto basically living happier and healthier lives. I mean, it really, I think, has to be torn up and renegotiated and started again. But it's not going to happen because the vested interests who want things to stay the same are still so dominant that the challenge is going to be it's going to be some years yet, I think, before the challenge to that dominance succeeds.
Thank you, Terry. And last but not least, Martin.
I kind of disagree with that. We need to make a distinction between the FCTC treaty itself and the FCTC Secretariat. The treaty it accepts harm reduction as a valid tool for getting people off of tobacco smoke. So the treaty is fine. There's no problem with the wording of the treaty. It's just the Secretariat don't want to talk about harm reduction. And the reason we're getting all this idea about redefining smoke and trying to find different ways of regulating is because they can't get around that inconvenient fact that the treaty says that harm reduction is a valid method. So the FCTC Secretariat is not fit for purpose. That's true. But we don't need to rip up the treaty. The treaty is perfectly fine as it is. What we need is a Secretariat to interpret the treaty exactly as it's supposed to be interpreted and not the way that they want to interpret it.
Fair enough. I mean, it's, I don't even know how to word this. So where do we go from here? What is the plan, guys? What are we going to do to counter this massive wall of effluent that we're up against? Yes, Ignacio, go ahead, unmute.
I think one of the first thing every association should do is to write to Philippines representants. Is that a word? Even in English, I'm not sure.
Representatives,
I'm sorry.
representatives.
Yeah, representative. We need to let them know that we support them, that they are not alone. And I hope also that England and New Zealand step forward with Philippines and not letting to get bullied, to take a part on this conversation. As I said, I'm very, very sad of the position of England and New Zealand, also France. I'm not sure if do we know if they support Philippines intra COP while they were discussing. I'm not sure if the
I don't think we
if we
know.
have some information about that, but I hope it happened. But for now, I think we should do that. We should stand back Philippines and let them know that they are doing the good thing. Also, we need to try to continue advancing in our own countries, like it's going in Malaysia. I think all the countries that we can make advance until the next COP will be very, very important uh, to have a way. And we really need to fight all what we can to get the information of that money that I'm pretty sure that will be hidden. We know they have been working under the shadows for very, very long. I really think this won't be different, but we really need to look for that money and tell the world how they are getting that money, because for sure we will have money from the pharmacy. We will have a bunch of money of Bloomberg that now we will be more difficult to trace, and also from others like Gates and other people. I really hope we can advance before the next COP. We have advanced a lot last years in advocating. One of the most important place was Philippines. They were very close to the ban, and just a big scandal make them understand how bad this situation goes. And I hope it happen in other countries too soon. I'm really sorry. I will need to cut now. I have a trip to Krakow. I really want to thank you, Nancy, for all your work and also for the invitation. Let's keep up. We are connected. We don't have the money they think we got.
No, we
And that talks a lot about our position. Without money, we're able to stand up to the billions of Bloomberg. And who knows, maybe it's true that there is someone multi-billionaire giving us money, but we don't know who, and he will give us a little more and we will do a very good work with that money. If the oil, petrol millionaires that they said that they are giving money to us, I'm not receiving it, please
yeah.
contact me. We need it in Chile. We really need it. We really need it in
Show
Chile. We
me
need
the
it
money.
in the world. We will really give a good use. Being totally poor, we are able to stand up. So if you really want to put money in advocacy, contact us. We really need it, and we will give good use. And none of us is rich and won't be rich, because that's not our go. So please, here we are.
Thank
Bloomberg
you,
is giving a
Ignacio.
lot. What to do now?
Thank you,
Now I need to
Ignacio.
say goodbye.
Gracias. Cuídate.
Same
Take
to
care,
you.
Ignacio. Take care.
Bye bye. Have a good
Bye.
time. Bye bye.
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 Hold on.
I got
Asa?
something, Nancy. Yeah. From mention from Paul and Rock, about 5.3,
Yeah.
and why Paul said that 5.3 was never meant to be a weapon. And I kind of agree with Rock. It's like 5.3 is more than a weapon. It had been used to push us out of many public venues. Like earlier during our scope, H had mentioned many times that this is ridiculous. Like the way they frame it, the wording of FCTC, that if you want to attend, if you want to be accepted, you must not have any ties, like five generations or something like
Yeah.
that. I think
It's
it
like
was
five
five.
generation. Yeah, five.
Yeah, so that was ridiculous. I mean, at all. I mean, even you have like great grandfather or a great grandfather have some kind of ties with tobacco, then you are not allowed. And we had been I mean, my group, my ECST is, especially me, had been attacked and blamed uh, by using this 5.3 and tie me with the tobacco industry. And one of them had even said that I work for a tobacco company, and the government, there was a subcommittee from the parliament that I was invited in. And this doctor said that you must ignore, like asking the Senate to ignore everything from the subcommittee just because a representative of ECST who is also a member of INCO, and INCO received funding from Foundation for Smoke Free World, and Foundation for Smoke Free World received
Yeah.
some kind of funding from Philip Morris International. Therefore, I am an employee of Philip Morris International. I'm saying, like, what? But that's 513 for you. So it's really ridiculous.
Agreed. Agreed. Peter, going forward.
Um, I think this is a step in the right direction. Discussions like this, hearing from different jurisdictions in Thailand, Chile, Malaysia, among others, and some of our fellow advocates all over the world. And that's the thing. The, we understand it's an uphill battle. For the most part, I've learned a lot from everybody. Um, I'm, I'm seeing different angles, and the point raised by Samsul was a very valid one. Um, I think we just really should do more of this, and hopefully reach the grassroots, or the people, and maybe get some persons to open their minds, open their eyes, and see what's really going on. And to what I forgot his name earlier, um, our dear colleague said earlier, the additional 2 years could also work for our advantage, as we can reach more people, we can grow our memberships. So I think more of these, more discussions of what's really going on, because I go back to how I started. When you feel alone, maybe this channel or this avenue would give strength to certain advocates or some individuals uh, that they also feel the same way we feel, but they don't know that there are actually people who can help them. So that's what I think, Nancy.
I agree. I mean, and part of the plan here is that we are going to do this now that we've done this. Like, for example, we're going to do the Americas version of this on Friday. And I know personally that it's very I can't think, motivating. I'll be fine. It's very motivating to hear other people that we're all doing the same thing and we're all fighting the same battle in all these different places. Okay. And we're stronger together. We are stronger together. And I think that going forward, the only way we're going to beat this thing is if we all do it together, because otherwise they're just going to divide and conquer. They're just going to continue the divide and conquer. I agree with Samsel that, we give them science and things like that, but we have to make what we want to have happen palatable to them. Okay. And, some of those people we're never going to reach, but some of those people we might. And it is the humanization thing. It is in the time of COVID, which makes it really difficult getting out there and face to face and making those contacts with people, because then they see us as people. They don't just see us like some of these, academics and these anti-people and these people and these bureaucracies. They see us as numbers. They don't see us as human beings. So, this is something that, yes, we have to do going forward. And at this stage, I'm going to do the last awards, the good cop, bad cop awards. Are you guys ready for this? Okay. One of the people, or the anonymous people behind it, I should say, that have helped us greatly, and I hope will continue to help us, is the "Wow, someone's actually telling us what's going on" award, which we are going to give to the people behind Cop Watch. So full credit to them for giving us information that we normally wouldn't get. And then we have another good cop award too. It's kind of a shame that this person is not here, but I'm going to go there anyway. The I Am the Evidence Award goes to passionate U.S. consumer advocate and sCOPe panelist Liana Hudspeth for keeping it real and reminding us safer nicotine products are lifesavers. And that goes for all of us. But we just wanted to point out Liana because she trudged through some really nasty crap last week to participate and be part of this. So full credit. So we've actually just hit an hour, so we've done pretty good. Any final Samsel, go for it.
Yeah, I just want to say that, looking at what's going on in COP9, I think we have to prepare because they are weaponizing themselves. I think COP10 they're going to hit us really, really hard. That's my take. Looking at what's happening at COP9, COP10 is going to be a lot more difficult for us. But having said that, to address your question earlier on, Nancy, come on, look at us. Where were we 8 years, 10 years ago, and look at us now. In regards to going forward, I think we have to keep on doing what we are doing, and this is it. What we are doing is really getting under their skin, and we really have to keep on doing this and keep getting under their skin. If you were to look at the tweet from Adriana Blanco, it seems that she is bitter, and I think we managed to get under her skin, and we have to keep doing this.
I agree completely. Martin, I haven't forgotten you, Terry. Martin, final thoughts?
Yeah, just very briefly, but I probably bore people by saying this, but you just got to keep on writing as consumers to your elected representative. It might feel a bit futile at times, but you've got to think that these COPs, the governing body of the COPs, are the parties to the convention. They're the national governments that send the delegations. So you just have to keep talking locally to your local politicians and tell them why these products are good for you, why they should be embraced, and hopefully it'll filter up. That's all we can really do as consumers. And just to say, it's a long game. It always has been a long game. Politics, everything in politics takes a long time, and it might feel like you're bashing your head against a brick wall, but you just got to keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Thank you for that. And last but not least, Mr. Barnes.
Oh, I don't know. I think Martin's just stolen my thunder because I was going to say much the same thing. But certainly I think COP10 is going to be, because of the deferral of the key discussions that we're really most interested in to then, is going to be crucial. So but we've got 2 years to plan, to strategize, to coordinate and work together. I think the other side of it is that this is a wall of our own, and building each brick one country, one jurisdiction at a time is very important. So yes, it's important to focus on the big goals, but it's actually the little steps that can actually lead to ultimate success. So working in terms of advocacy in your own countries, swapping notes with other advocates in other countries, and sharing what you have in common and building on it, I think is something that is really important here. And if you can do that, I think, and particularly I think with the fact that the science, the technology is evolving and changing rapidly in the right direction, the weight of evidence by the time of COP10 is actually going to be even better than it is in terms of our side of the cause in COP9. So I think there's grounds for optimism, but it's certainly going to be a tough haul. But with passion and dedication, those who believe in the right, what's right here, could ultimately prevail.
Thank you, Terry. Gentlemen, thank you. We're going to do this again on Friday for the people in the Americas. And I do want to make a note that we are going to probably do this on a regular basis come January, because I think we need this. It's soul food for us, and we're up against it. So we need to do this. So I want to take this time to thank you guys. I want to take the time to thank the people that actually stayed up or actually joined us at this ridiculous hour of the night. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Asa. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Samsul. And thank you, Terry, so much, guys. Everybody stay safe and stay well. And we will see you soon.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks, guys.